We'll go into the NBA first because Lakers are up 3-1. A lot of exciting stuff happening with
God, no.
the finals going on. So Weaver boys, and especially Alex, because Heat fan is crying right now. What do we think of what's going on right now with it?
Also, real quick, we do clip outs on YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, but you're kind of curious, sometimes you don't get time to check everything out, make sure to check us out on YouTube. We got clip outs. But yeah, Heat, I said on last week's episode, I felt pretty confident going in. I felt we could beat them. Would we? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think I said a game it would go to. I don't think I said 6 or 7 games. Did I? You guys remember it all?
You said you thought 7 was possible.
That's right,
we kind of
you
agreed.
Said you'd be shocked if it was 7.
Yeah, I said 5 or 6. And
Yeah.
you said, I think 7's possible.
I could see it going to 7. I think we could really win this series. I think we had the matchups. The biggest problem we've had, the first game was awful. I mean, a blowout. They were being blown out. Goran and Bam, I think it was the third quarter, both get hurt. That is huge, and that changed the rest of the finals. It really did. Game 2, we ended up being more competitive and losing, which was good. And then we steal Game 3. Which I love because Game 3, they did not look great. And then last night's game, the Lakers, honestly, I did not think looked amazing on the floor. But their Caldwell Pope, I remember he hit the first few shots. He hit their first 8 of 12 shots. And I remember thinking, if we're letting Caldwell Pope go off, and I don't think, and I mean, obviously it was only 12 points. And I'm like, if the Lakers don't play great, but Caldwell Pope is going, that isn't good for us if we're letting these depth guys get going, because it needs to be put on the shoulder of their stars. And the game, I mean, the series has kind of been on the shoulder of LeBron and Anthony Davis, which you expect. It makes sense. They're the best on the court for a reason. But I think we've been more the only game we haven't been competitive in is Game 1. We could have won the other 2 games. It's a bummer we didn't. I'm not shocked that this is the outcome that's happened. I think we still have a chance to push it to 6. It's going to be a tough feat. I don't know if it's going to happen. Goran coming back might be big. Bam coming back was big last night. So I'm not bummed. I'm glad we made it to the finals. I'm not saying we've lost yet. I think there's a shot we could still do it, but the chances of percentage has gone down significantly. But I am glad we got a chance to be in the finals. That's the big thing for me, because by the time we film and air next, it's going to be over, even if it goes to 7. So unless they give an extra day off, which I'm just not sure of, but assuming they won't go to 7, because it's probably unlikely. But I'm just happy that they got here and fought this hard. They're the underdogs. I saw today that they're the clear destination for a top free agent now by execs, which makes sense. Part of me is also saying, I think Tyler Hero's about to become a superstar in the league. I mean, we've obviously talked about how Bam is pretty much about there. And I think with Jimmy there for the next 3 years, we're going to be pretty good. And I think Hero, he's breaking records that Tatum had, set the other his rookie year and guys like that. He's good, and he's only 20. Got him for 4 years locked down right now. I do want to. I mean, Giannis comes, I'm going to be singing and the praises. But part of me is also like, let's just fill out the team around them and go get the players that will fix the depth, like we did with Iggy and Crowder, who should both be back as well next year. So I think we'll be a real contender again next year. I'm excited. But sorry, I went on a little bit there. But Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we're taking LeBron James for granted a little bit.
I never
and
do.
People are not necessarily you, but I think a lot of the media and everything, he is averaging roughly 28, 11, and 9. And we're talking about how he's been playing bad. He had not a great first half of the last game, even though he was awesome in the second half.
He had a lot of turnovers was the big thing in the last game.
He had 6 turnovers, didn't shoot well, but come on. He's been dominant for the most part. And Anthony Davis hit a big shot. And it's just a guy almost averaging a 30-point triple-double through 4 games of the finals. When you have a 3-1 lead and people are trying to nitpick, I think it shows just how incredible LeBron James is. It's like, oh, you're only averaging 28, 11, and 9. Like, man, in 2017, you averaged a 33-point triple-double. So what are we
bum.
doing here? It's like, okay, he's the only one ever to have a triple-double in the finals. So while I also think back to the first game of the playoffs for the Lakers, where you see a lot of the overreactions to the play of KCP, to the play of Caruso, who didn't have a great game. It was before Rondo came back, and all the talk was LeBron needed to be more aggressive. And now you come down here in the finals, a 2-1 lead. The game is almost, I think it's a couple point different, about 3 minutes left in the game. Jimmy Butler misses an open three-pointer. LeBron drives down, passes it to KCP. KCP hits a big shot. My mind immediately went to that Portland game where LeBron showed faith in his teammates. And in this game, they came through. KCP, Kuzma, and Anthony Davis all had each a huge three-pointer at the end of the fourth quarter. And, of course, LeBron played incredible in the second half as well. And it just shows how good I think he is. And I'm curious to see, this hasn't been his greatest finals. It's still better than what 95% of every player has ever played in the finals. And I'm bummed that Bam's hurt. Bam's a monster. You could feel the difference on the court. Jimmy Butler had an amazing 40-point triple-double, which was incredible in game 3 to kind of keep the Heat alive. But you kind of just feel it that they need Bam. They need that second guy because Jimmy Butler, how many of those great games does he have in him? Well, last night it seemed like his tread started loosening up a little bit in that second half. And so I'm bummed that Bam did get hurt because I think he's an absolute stud. But yeah, I think it's just easy to take LeBron James for granted and the kind of things that he's able to do on a nightly basis. And also, if you'd have told me in 2012 that LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Rajon Rondo would be the 3 best players on a team that's up 3-1 in the finals, all of them on the Los Angeles Lakers, I would not have believed you. And Rondo, it's pretty impressive to see that happen. Yeah, and that's another criticism, or I think people LeBron's been less ball dominant in this finals than we've seen him be since at least 2017 with Kyrie Irving. But for them to play good, they need Rondo to be playing good, and Rondo has to have the ball. That's the type of player that he is. And so you're seeing a little more of LeBron just deferring to Rondo to help get more out of those players, because in the series that LeBron averages the most points, he has lost historically in the finals. The series where he averages close to 30, and gets the other teammates involved, they win championships.
Now, did you say LeBron is the only player to have a triple-double in the finals, or average a triple-double in the finals?
Average a triple-double.
Okay, I heard you wrong at first, and I was like, that's untrue. Jimmy just had his first. And there's a bunch of players that have. But yes, average, yeah. I'm with you now.
Yeah, he in 2017, LeBron averaged a 33, 35-point triple-double.
Yeah.
Only player ever.
And I love LeBron, so if they win, it's not the worst loss I've ever had. So I'm, the Mavs loss for the Heat will always be what haunts me. So, losing to LeBron won't sting that bad. But I think we could still take this next game. I think it's very possible. Bam and Dragic come back. Bam getting more healthy and push it to 6, I think could happen. And we really should have won that game. And I agree with you. LeBron is dishing it out because he also, I think, gets that if his bench is not as good as ours and his role players are not as good, but they need to be good because ours are better and we'll beat them. And I think that's shown and why it's been so competitive. I mean, Duncan, Nunn came in and has been balling out a little bit. Like Hero, obviously. Like our guys are balling out a little bit, and we've been fighting, and I like it. I hope they win game 6.
There's a reason you guys are in the finals. You were a very quality team. You just happen to run into LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are 2 of the top 7 players in basketball.
Yeah, and they want to leave more than anybody else, so they're trying to end it quickly.
Yeah, and also I think Anthony Davis, he didn't have a great game 3, but in game 4 he didn't score as much. He only had 22 points. But defensively, he's a monster. And so, they don't necessarily. LeBron understands that he doesn't have to drop 50 a night, and that he's taken teams and bad teams and just done it all himself. We saw that in 2007, got swept by the Spurs. In 2018, we saw him have a 58-8 game in game 1 against the Golden State Warriors, a monster team. And they end up losing that game because his teammates made bad plays that were out of his hands, even though they could have overcome a huge deficit. So I think LeBron's play, I think people like to question him when he doesn't drop a 35-point game. And he's an incredible player for sure.
And blowouts are only fun if it's your team. So at least we've been competitive and competed, and we could have won those. We could be up 3-1. Honestly, I think we could have taken those both these losses pretty easily. The score is close, and we had some shots just didn't fall. So I'm proud of the boys.
There's one more stat real quick that I want to bring up. I don't know if you got picked up on it last night. It's again with LeBron. It blows my mind how good he is. The Lakers are 56-0 when leading going into the fourth quarter. So if they have a lead through 3, they have not lost a game this year. That's the best in NBA history.
That's insane. I didn't know that.
And so the only other, and granted they've played a few less games, but it's counting regular season and postseason because the season's a little bit shorter. They haven't had quite as many opportunities. But LeBron, the only other teams that have only lost 1 game is the 95-96 Bulls. And oddly enough, there's another older team. I think it's maybe a Celtic team or a Lakers team, even older. But the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers were 70-1, I believe, or 70-1. So leading. So the last 2 years that LeBron James has been healthy, in 2018 and 2020, his teams have lost 1 game while leading going into the fourth quarter. That is unbelievable stuff, and that just shows how good he is in the fourth, and that's going to make it hard for any team, especially when KCP and Anthony Davis are burying threes alongside of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Love LeBron. Sure. I'll be happy for him to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great for me either way. I mean, a casual Laker fan, I get to see another championship being won with LeBron, and on the opposite side, my best friend who's a Heat fan right here, he's going to, be happy. So, hey, it's been a good time for me.
I won't be crushed. I don't know about happy, but
it is
I won't
bummer
be crushed.
The Bam injury is a bummer, even though I don't think it would have changed the outcome of this series. I want him to get the national recognition that he deserves as a potential superstar.
Totally.
And Goran, too, because he's the biggest shot creator on the team. But anyway, Kyle,